Well, hello everybody, and yay, it's 2-week Tuesday. Uh, and that's when this beautiful lady comes and joins me on Aquarius Rising Africa. And Jessica, it's such a pleasure to have you back again. Welcome. How are you? How's the last fortnight been?
Hey, I'm doing great. I've had a busy couple of weeks for sure. And I've got even more busy weeks coming up ahead. So just having fun and doing a lot of
Yeah, but
interesting
I
research.
can tell. I mean, I follow you, of course, on YouTube. And I see you having these actually amazing guests, and you had doing some fantastic connections with people, which is really awesome. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I have
Is it? Sorry, carry on.
Oh yeah, no, I was gonna say I have some of the best guests and I have some of the best viewers that watch the shows and everybody interacts and I just like I said, I'm just having a lot of fun right now. So and doing whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was actually thinking earlier on when I was kind of like prepping for the show. Um, I know probably most people on here listen to Caleb's shows with me. For those of you who don't, I highly recommend you do. He was, I mean, tragic from birth, basically. He's half Native American, half German, in the system, super intelligent, but spent 35 years in the arcane. So absolutely knows and was very high ranking there. So absolutely knows all the ins and outs of how that entire system works. And I tell you, I think we're so blessed to have him on the show. That's for sure. But he's been telling us for a while that we have to, the portals and things are opening now. And that's where a lot of these creatures of the night are entering. So this is the time the veils are thin and we're seeing more of them, we're hearing more of them. And this is, I think it's been predicted in the Bible. It's been predicted by many prophets from ancient time. And I know time is really, it's not linear. So the way we measure time here in terms of timing is never accurate. In fact, I don't believe there is actually time when you're looking at the bigger scheme of things. But anyway, this is kind of like the timeline, put it that way, on which these things have been predicted. So what the stuff and the correlation or the connection I'm making, which I find so fascinating, is that everything Caleb is talking about is the stuff you are seeing and you are hunting. And I am so jealous every time you say that. You see me go green. Like this part of my scarf is very clear about how I'm feeling right now. When you talk about Gaia, these awesome Bigfoot hunts of yours, I can't wait. You and Bryce must just be careful. I'm going to arrive there. And we're just going to go, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. You got to come visit. I went on a really wonderful hike with Bryce. She came up to see me at the Georgia Bigfoot conference, and she and her boyfriend Todd and my son, we went on an incredible hike up in the mountains, and I'm going to say we were kind of Bigfooting a little bit, and just had a good time. So you're going to have to come and hang out. Oh yeah.
So fun, absolutely. So tell us about, tonight we've kind of got on the menu UFO wars, werewolves, curses, remote viewing, and we generally talk about a lot of this stuff anyway. Sometimes we talk about it on more than one show, and I love that as well because there's always things creeping out in the middle of the night that makes themselves heard and known, right? And things get bigger. I love it. It's so scary. Didn't you love ghost stories as a kid?
I did. I think that's why I'm here today, really talking about Bigfoot and Dogman. Yeah, because I was really into ghosts when I was a kid. I was really into UFOs. I was really into Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster. And I was, I mean, I would go straight to the fiction section of the library when I was a kid to go look for books about real ghosts. Okay, I wanted to see pictures of real ghosts. Little did I know I'd be in the, you know, I would have experienced a lot of ghosts in my lifetime after that, and in all different forms too, which is really crazy. But yeah, and
yeah, I was born seeing ghosts, and I could see them all the time. And I could hear voices of the animals as well.
oh
And
my God.
it didn't take me too long to realize that not everyone saw what I saw. So I had to keep quiet. And a lot of the time I did. I'd see things I'd like, no one around me, except my grandmother and my mother. But it was more like, you know, if I was in kids or with my peers and stuff like that, it was like just whatever. Yeah, it was
Wow,
crazy.
that's a lot like me. My mom and my grandmother, like her mother and her mother's mother, my great grandmother, they were all very psychic and had a lot of interesting experiences and encounters. My great grandmother and my great aunt actually had a possible ET abduction one night while they were driving down the road. And you know, we come from a family of just very psychically switched on women on both sides of my family. Even my dad,
Wow. So what
actually.
happened? What happened with the abduction? I'm very keen to hear that.
Oh yeah, well, back in the 1980s, my great grandmother, my great aunt, they both lived in the same small town. Okay, near an area called Rome, Georgia. Okay, up in the northwest corner of our state where we live here in the U.S. And they were driving down the road, and they said that a light came down from the sky, and it enveloped their car. And they looked up, and the next thing they know, they're a county or two over, and it's like 20 miles down the road, and they don't know how they got there. Okay, so they attributed that to being saved by angels. They were highly religious, both of them, and they would have never in a million years thought it was a UFO or ETs or anything like that. They just thought, well, you know, God moved us out of the way because there was probably a wreck, or they were going to be in a wreck, and so that's why they ended up down there. They don't remember anything. They just said that they kind of realized that they were not where they had been, you know, in
Yeah,
Rome. They were 20 miles away.
in a time bubble, like a time bubble type thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
And they really never talked about it. I was told that through someone else in the family, and I inquired about it before they passed away. Okay, they're both deceased now, but it's just something they really didn't talk about. I don't think they were very comfortable talking about it. It was a little odd, especially for that small town up in North Georgia.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I come from families on both sides that lived in haunted houses too. You know, old homesteads.
Did you grow up, you know, in a haunted house?
Well, I grew up in a log cabin on a lake and on a farm that my father built. It actually, if you go look at it today, it looks like it was built in the 1800s, but it was really built in the 1970s. Okay, so I don't think that house was haunted, but now here's the thing about that house is that it was a little creepy because I'm a proponent of curtains and blinds. Okay, because when I was a kid, I always felt like something was watching me through the windows at night. And we lived in the middle of the country, no neighbors at all, really, other than my aunt and my cousin lived down the driveway from us. But that was it. And so we had some lace curtains up. My mom put lace curtains. You could see straight through them. Okay. And when I was a kid, I just remember always feeling like I was being watched, always. And there's certain things where I'm looking back now, I think that I probably was being visited by something. Now that I'm older and now I've had all these experiences, I'm pretty sure I was. I don't think the house was haunted though. Now my grandparents' house was haunted. Very haunted. Right across the lake from our house, my grandparents had a lake home, and I to this day I would never spend the night there by myself. And I'm the cryptid huntress, okay? But it's just there's something.
What are you scared of there? I mean, like I'm not saying you should go, but I'm just wondering what you're scared of.
I'm not scared. I'm not scared. Okay, I'm just not comfortable. Okay, it's more like they're not comfortable. I've been there before where I was going to stay by myself, and I had my dog with me when I was younger, probably about 15 years ago or more. And I went there to spend the night overnight, and I had my reservations because the house was haunted. It's been haunted our whole lives. We knew it was haunted. And so I was getting ready to go to bed. I was actually going to sleep on the couch in the living room because I wasn't comfortable sleeping in the bedroom because that's the haunted part of the house. And as I was getting ready to turn in for the night, I heard a loud crash and a bang in that bedroom. It was the toilet seat getting slammed down, and there was nobody in that house. Uh-oh. I think I just portaled out back. But I got zapped.
There was nobody in that house. Boom, there you go.
I know this happens sometimes when I'm talking about an intense story. I get zapped up and then I come back. But it was really scary. So I packed up and I left. I didn't want to stay there that night because I took that as a warning that it wasn't safe down there. Yeah. So
no, I definitely. I mean, as much as what I'm comfortable speaking to and connecting with creatures that don't have bodies, right? I mean, you're not going to find me sleeping in a haunted house easily, no chance.
Yeah.
I'm putting it out of there, babe.
Yeah, well,
if
it had been haunted by like one of my grandparents or somebody that I knew, and like my brother, I would have been okay. I could have dealt with that. But this was a very dark, it felt very ancient and dark. Like it was something that was kind of connected to the land, potentially maybe a curse. Who knows? It could have been cursed. It could be some cursed land down there. Now, we have done some energy healing on the land. Some friends of mine and myself. It's not so dark now, but back then it was. It was pretty dark. Yeah.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I think I mean, I always say this. I think we're living in such incredible times. I mean, never in a million gazillion. I wish I could tell myself when I was like 4, we were going to be talking about this and I'd actually have a show about topics like this. I think I'd be the happiest child alive, seriously. So it's always a pleasure to speak to you and people like you as well, and what you do and all of these amazing things. So let's talk about you. I mean, we've got a couple of things on the menu tonight. Where do you want to start? Let me give you that option.
Well, we can start. Well, I've got a couple things that I've covered recently on my channel, and I thought maybe we could talk about some of that stuff since it's fresh on my mind and it's interesting. And I think that it's worth talking about again and doing kind of I don't want to say a wrap up, but a summary of it here because one of them deals with UFOs and the other one deals with curses and inherited curses. We can actually talk about the werewolves first, since we just talked about, I just mentioned a curse. We can talk about this. Yeah, because this deals with actual cryptids. Okay, and so on Sunday night, I had my good friend Dennis Carroll, Dr. Dennis Carroll, on my show, and he came on to talk about the El Lobizon. I think is how you pronounce that. And this is the werewolf. It's a werewolf, a wereman, a werewoman out of South America. And the interesting thing about,
so what does it look like?
Well, it looks like a wolf, like a bipedal wolf, basically. So
bigger than the usual wolves.
Yes. Well, they can be bigger. It's like a human. Basically, werewolves are said to be humans that transform into a wolf-like creature. And so with my line of, I'm not going to say expertise because I am not an expert on any of this. Okay. But I know a little more than some people. Okay. But werewolves.
Well, I'd say you're collecting cryptids. I'd say that you're qualified. So we're good.
Well, thank you. Well, I'm out there. Well, I'm actually about to go on a dogman. I'm going to call it an expedition, a dogman expedition soon. I can't say when, can't say where. But I'm going on a pretty serious dogman expedition, and I'm going to be in the middle of the woods, with no
How long are you going for?
Communication. Several days. I'll be gone. It's going to be scary. I'm gonna say scary. I'm gonna say a little bit scary because this is not something I go out looking for usually, or dogmen. I'm a Bigfoot researcher. Okay, so we're going deep within the woods of a very rural area here in the
I
South.
seriously hope you're gonna like film alive.
Yes, well, you will know if I make it back or if I don't. I can promise you that. Okay, so it will be soon. It will be soon. So I've actually been preparing for this trip for a minute now. Okay, so
nice. Well, that's very exciting. Wow.
Yeah, but we have a distinction between dogmen and werewolves. Okay,
Yes.
and I just recently had another gentleman on my show named Javier out of California, and he's had a couple of different dogman encounters, but one of the dogman encounters, the dogman, he believes it was a werewolf or a lichen because it had on ripped shorts. It was wearing clothes. Okay, so that's
okay. So the dogman, I know we spoke a bit about them last week as well. They've got like human bodies with a dog's head, right?
And it looks like that sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of the old school. If you look at the pictures on maps, like the old world maps that we have, there used to be the cynocephali. Okay, the dog-headed men. Okay, and you can find those even on maps, in artwork, historical records. You can find dog-headed men.
Yeah.
It is kind of, it has been hidden from us, I believe, much like unicorns and dragons and blemmies.
Yeah, they've all been made out to be these mythological creatures.
Yes, mythological. Yeah. I think that mythological creatures are real. I think they got the idea from somewhere, okay, and people were writing what they saw. So I don't know. I mean, but we also have very vivid imaginations too, okay, but I believe that those could have been real. And so Javier has seen what he said to be was a dog man. Now, and here's the thing: some of them have legs like men and women, like humans, and then most of the dog men. Okay, so some people say those are actual werewolves if they've got legs like a human. There's some dog men that have legs like a dog, where they have it's called a digigrade type of a leg. Okay, where their legs are kind of backwards at the knee. Okay, just like our dogs. Now I know it sounds scary, but
that's actually incredible. And are these the dog men, not the werewolves?
Those are dog men, yeah. Because werewolves would be more like a human that transforms into another wolf-like creature. So they would most likely have human legs. Okay, so human legs.
Right.
Yeah. And then we also have different categories of dogmen. Okay, so we have at least 5 or 6 different categories of different types of dogmen. One of them actually looks like a hyena, which is not a dog at all. Okay, but most of them look like your typical werewolf, what you would think a werewolf would look like, or a coyote. So the El Lobezon, okay, this is out of South America, mainly Argentina, Paraguay, and Brazil. They say that the El Lobezon are werewolves. They're people. They're usually cursed through people who are cursed through bloodline curses.
Bloodlines, yes.
Inherited curses. They say it's usually the 7th son born of the 7th son. Okay. Now this is the thing in South America where I believe it's in Brazil. They've actually passed laws to protect the 7th born son of the 7th born son. Okay, so because people wanted to, a lot of times, I guess they would unalive the baby. Okay, before if the 7th child was born a son.
7th, because 7th is actually a sacred number. So
That's
I'm
a good
interested
question.
why. Yeah. So, 7 is one of the sacred numbers. 3, 4, 7, and 12. So I'd be interested to know why they would choose the 7th son.
That's a good question. I have no idea. I don't know, but it did remind me of something, because we have something called the Jersey Devil here in the United States, up near New Jersey in the northeastern part of our country. And the Jersey Devil is described in a couple of different ways. And that is something that I did remote view. What I thought I was remote viewing looked like a goat man. Okay, so we have goat men. We have a lot of goat men sightings here in the United States.
Like a goat man, as in a dog man as well? one that stands on its hind legs.
Mhm.
But honestly, I actually saw a video clip not too long ago of one of my African friends had posted it on his Facebook. There was a goat, a fully grown billy goat on his hind legs, walking around the crawl like a man, but he was a goat.
It's pretty terrifying, right? It's a little weird, because my sister has goats. She has a miniature goat farm, and so I love the goats, but their eyes, they have those slitted eyes, and they are associated with Pan. Okay, and I have actually done some remote viewing targets for people who had been attacked while they slept. In one particular case, I can't get into too many details because he wanted me to keep this private. I'm not going to say his name, but there was a case where I had remote viewed a coordinates for a property where two friends of mine had gone doing some Bigfooting. Okay, they're Bigfoot researchers, and I didn't have a lot of information on what happened. I just had some coordinates and of the location and the time and the date that something happened to one of them. And he thought he had been abducted by aliens out of his tent one night. Well, when I was remote viewing, I was seeing a goat man. Okay, and later on, I do believe somebody sent me, and it was actually kind of shocking to him because he was like, "Well, that makes more sense," because, oh, this is going to get juicy, by the way. So, a little prior to this expedition that he had with his buddy out in the woods, they had gone to a movie premiere of some friends, and it was a movie premiere about conjuring Bigfoot. Okay, conjuring cryptids. Well, unbeknownst to the audience, I don't think that they were fully prepared for what they were about to watch on this movie. I think the people in this movie were conjuring Pan. This was a couple of years ago.
That's insane. It makes perfect sense as well, because, as we know by now, they have to show us all the time. So they're showing us in plain sight all the time. And again, it also, I see Caleb's in the chat. Hello, Caleb. We were just talking about you earlier on. And you talk about conjuring because he was just doing a series with us on the understanding the arcane, and one of the magics is conjuration. So, wow.
Well, that's a mode. Some people, and I've talked about this on my shows. There's some people out there that they do anything to see a cryptid. They do anything, and a lot of people are into magic, into conjuring stuff. So one of the modes, some of the more edgy Bigfoot researchers. Let's just say edgy. I mean, I have some friends who are very edgy that will, nobody on my team, we don't do that. Okay, on my team, I just want to state that we go out there to observe. We don't go out there to conjure ever. We don't even know how to do that. But there's some people that I know that will push the envelope. Okay, and apparently during this documentary, Pan was summoned. Okay, Pan was summoned, and the person who watched this movie and was there for that event, he said that his life had kind of gone down the tubes since he had been at that movie premiere. He couldn't figure out why, and things were just happening that was just kind of negative in his life. Like a negative energy had come over him. Okay,
yeah,
and he found out that they had conjured something during that movie, and it kind of put everybody in a weird predicament that had watched that, because they were part of that ritual unbeknownst to them. Okay, and so when he was attacked, this person was actually attacked in their tent. He thought that something else had happened. Well, I didn't know anything about any of this. And I'm remote viewing these blind targets, and I'm seeing something that looks like Pan. And I wrote Pan down in the data. And he said, wow, that makes perfect sense. Now he was able to connect the dots a little bit better. And down the road, somebody sent me a game cam picture off of a game trail camera of what looked like a goat man. And I was asked to never share it, because it's property of the person who lives there. Okay, but they wanted to confirm that around this property, or around a property in the area, this had been sighted, and it looked like a man. It looked like a man with long, like curly brown hair, kind of. And he looked normally like he didn't have a shirt on, but then from his waist down, it was brown, like fur. He had fur on from his waist down, like fur. Either he had on fur pants, fur tight pants.
Almost like a centaur, right, with a horse, half man, half horse.
Half goat.
But this one didn't have his ass sticking out, just a straight up man, right?
It was a man. Well, you know, it could have been like a feral human or something, because I mean, this is private property. There's not supposed to be anybody living out there, except for the people who live on this property. So, but yeah, I was sent a very interesting picture after that. So, yeah, it happens. We have a lot of strange things out in our woods, a lot of strange things. But yeah, okay, so
these goat people, are they dangerous? Because I mean, I'm just thinking about this, because if we just look at the whole Luciferian system, of course, Baphomet being half man, half goat. So I'm wondering if that would have any correlation to these goat people, and why would the Lucies be so keen on the goat if there are goat people running around? Is there a connection there?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I haven't heard a ton of stories about people being unalived by goat man. Okay, but I have. Okay, so there's a case I did remote. There's a case that I did remote view. It's called the, oh God, what is it? The Pope Lick monster. Okay, that's one. I haven't done a show on this yet, so I'm not gonna. The Pope Lick monster. It's out of Kentucky.
Pope Lick.
Pope Lick. Yeah, Pope Lick. It's the name of a creek, and there's a large bridge that goes over this creek. Now, this is something I remote viewed a little while back, and I have not, like I said, I haven't done a show on it yet. I might do. Maybe I'll do my show on it this week. But the cases that come out of here, okay, out of Kentucky, there's a bridge, like a railroad bridge, where trains go over it, owned by Norfolk Southern Railway. And it's a really, really long bridge, 9 stories up into the air, really high. And it connects one hill to the next. So it's like 2 tall pieces of land with a bridge. Now, there are stories that say that there are, and people claim that there's a goat man that guards the place and he carries an axe, like a hatchet. And when you go to this bridge, this goat man, the Pope Lick monster, will chase you. Okay, and so thrill seekers, teenagers, ghost hunters go out there. Cryptid enthusiasts, I guess, they go out there. I know better. I would never do that. I would never go on this bridge. Because
so is he in physical form? So, or do they take on like a physical form, or is it more of them being in a spiritual realm? So they are genuine meat and flesh,
yes,
people or creatures, and that's not a person.
Flesh and bone and blood. No, and this doesn't have a man's body. This is like a full goat man. It's like an upright big goat.
Okay, so
yeah.
Okay, so he's a goat, but walks around like a man on his hind legs.
Yes, humanoid on 2 legs, 2 hooves, 2 hooves. Yeah,
so he's got hooves. Wow, amazing.
Yeah, there's a lot of goat man reports from all over the country. Actually, if you watch, there's a show called Ghost Adventures. This is
the first time I hear about goat people.
No.
I've not heard about goat people before. Wow. I love it.
You got them. There's a lot of goat men in Texas. Okay, a lot of goat men stories. I have a friend, Jason McLean, wrote a book.
Texas? What would take them to Texas? Or I mean, have you figured out why they prefer Texas? What about Texas makes them want to be there?
Well, Texas has a lot of strange anomalies and enigmas and high strangeness. I have no idea. I'm trying to figure these things out too. But they have at least 5 different goat men that I know of across Texas, East Texas to Central Texas. My friend wrote a book called Metroplex Monsters, and I think like a couple of chapters at least are dedicated to the goat men and around Austin, Texas, and I think it's Austin, and maybe like San Antonio area, Dallas.
Ursa is just asking. Sorry to interrupt you. Do they speak or communicate or communication mere grunting. So how do they communicate? Is it telepathic? Because I know the
Telepathic.
dogman are telepathic. Yeah.
Yes, I was just about to say they're telepathic. Now that's why I'm going to bring up the Pope-lick monster, because the Pope-lick monster is a goat man that is said to hypnotize its victims. Okay, hypnotize and speak telepathically to the victims. Okay, and so a lot of people have died on that bridge. A lot, and it's the thrill seekers, and it's people who they say that the bridge is so long, once a train starts coming through there, and it looks like it's a defunct bridge, like no trains come through there. So if you're not from the area, you might assume that there's not going to be any trains coming through there. But they come through regularly. And once you get in the middle of that bridge, there's no outrunning the train. So you have to jump off the side of the bridge and hold on for your life. Okay, hold on for dear life. And if you fall, you will not make it. It's a 9-story fall. The chances of a person living are very slim to none. But people say that the Pope-lick monster will, it actually hypnotizes people and sends them out to their deaths, is what that does. So that's the thing. A lot of these cryptids are telepathic, and that's been my case too. When I've been out in the field, there's something that we call it's called mind speak. Okay, it's telepathy is what that is. Okay, I don't know if it's because a lot of people don't want to say, well, it's not telepathic, it's mind speak. It's the same thing. Okay, it's the same thing. And the ETs that I've encountered actually were telepathic, of course. Okay.
Yes, of course.
The ghosts are telepathic. Everything that I've ever encountered is telepathic. Yeah.
Totally. and some can connect and communicate quite well, while others don't really. Caleb, I'm just looking at Caleb's comment there. He says these goat people are in the Wild Hunt as well. Oh, I don't know if you guys have watched that show on the Wild Hunt, but it's basically once a year. These creatures of the night have this mythical hunt, basically, and the portals get opened, and all these mythological creatures come out there and hunt the kids. In a nutshell. That's crazy. Yeah, no, it's just insane. Yeah, absolutely insane.
Well, there's one pretty popular bridge. Okay, because goatmen are often seen at bridges. Okay, and if you want to go find something that's kind of mainstream that you can find online, or you can find it on television, there's a ghost hunting group called Ghost Adventures here in the U.S. And those guys went to Goatman's Bridge. Okay, there's something called Goatman's Bridge. One of their crew, one of their staff, their photographer, their videographer, I think she got, I want to say possessed. Okay, she got like possessed by some kind of entity there. It was very dark. I remember Aaron, one of their crew members, he got thrown down and stuff. Like, it was very violent there. I don't think they actually caught a goat man on camera or anything, but it's very haunted. Okay, so super haunted with very dark energy attached to it. So that's kind of the MO with a lot of these goat men. It's very dark energy. Okay, so you want to.
Okay, so that would make sense to me. That would make sense to me then. Do you think they're hybrids? Do you think they are created, or do you think they're naturally? I don't know. What do you remote view? That's kind of. I'm just asking you from the remote viewing perspective. So, from what you've seen, are they some kind of a sick Luciferian experiment? Because Baphomet's are these Baphomet's little cousins running around with, and then of course, as we know now as well, then they get matched with one of those Raphael spirits. Wow. So I mean, because if you obviously, the minute you make something, man makes something, it doesn't have a spirit.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a soul.
Wow.
So when it's man-made, then they've got to match these disgusting creatures of the night into those bodies. So I'm wondering if the goat men then in fact are hybrids and Lucifer's next generation, right?
Could be. You know, that's a great question, because I'd like to think that they're from here. They're organic. You know, I mean, I hate to say I like to think it, okay, because they're not something you really want to run into. But who knows? Just like with a lot of these cryptids, like dogmen, for instance, I hear stories, I hear accounts of our government here having breeding programs for dogmen and werewolves and things like that.
But
and
what do they do with them when they breed with them? What do they do with them?
Well, I've been told, okay, now take this with a grain of salt. Now, I believe this could be true because I've seen a lot of weird stuff, okay? But they say that they're used for nefarious purposes. I had my friend Nick Sylvester. I need to call him, by the way. I need to bring him back on my show. Nick Sylvester came on, and he was talking about the cryptid breeding programs here, and he was saying that someone he's got a little inside information on some things. He was saying that some agencies, we don't want to say government, just agencies, were using at least, I think he said 13
agencies, but not government agencies.
Yeah, probably just agencies of some sort. He said that they're using at least 13 different types of cryptids. They are actually like contracted with to do dirty like work for them. Okay, like to actually work.
What kind of work are we talking here?
I mean, we're talking about potentially. Now, I'm just saying this is all, you know, this is my my thoughts. This is not just does not necessarily be fact. Okay, this is what I would assume. Okay, and what he and I talked about: assassinations. Okay, kidnappings.
That for me would make sense. Yeah.
Yeah, taking people to these underground bases, you know, pulling people through portals.
And scaring the living bejesus out of everyone.
Well, have you? Yeah. Okay, well, there's that movie called Monsters, Inc. Okay, and they do not hide the fact that these monsters are going in and scaring children, right, in their rooms, and they're harvesting that adrenalized blood. Okay, so.
The adrenal, yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So maybe it could be for that as well. You know, I think that might be the number one thing, but who knows? And so it's just a very deep rabbit hole when you start looking into all this, because the normal person has a hard time wrapping their head around Bigfoot being real, okay, or a dog man being real until they see one, okay, until they see one, and then their world gets turned upside down. And so then you start expanding your consciousness and your way of thinking, and I'm so far down the rabbit hole at this point. Anything's possible. And yeah. And I'm going dogman hunting soon. Okay. Not hunting like I'm going to hurt them. Okay. Or anything. We're going to go look for them.
But at least the dogmen sound a little bit more friendly than the goatmen. I'm a little bit worried about those goatmen. I'd be a little bit more suspect of them, like, guys.
Well, it seems as though the ones who are, okay, so the dogmen, and this is from personal encounters that I've taken from people, okay, accounts. The ones that seem to be organic and that have probably been here forever, okay, like of the earth or inner earth, wherever they're coming from, they seem to be just kind of indifferent, and they're not here to be violent. They're not here to hurt anybody. I have been told by a good friend of mine, who a Native American medicine man, he told me, and he told us, he has a YouTube channel, my buddy William Nighthawk. He says that a lot of the cryptids that we're seeing today have been conjured by medicine men and medicine women of Native American culture to protect the sacred lands. Okay, and to protect the Indian, like the burial mounds. Okay, the burial mounds that we have here, the cemeteries, any kind of sacred land. And so that's why we're seeing them so much. And they're put there, and they're put there by curses and blessings. Okay, you can either look at it as a curse or a blessing.
I love that, because I think it makes a lot of sense. It's funny you should bring up that, because the last couple of weeks I've been watching stuff, the Native American people. And I mean, I always knew how disgusting those early wars were, right? When the Native American people basically had their land stolen from them. I mean, there've been umpteen movies made about that. That's pretty much how I know about it. But the fact that the laws in America towards the Native American people are still what they are. I mean, they have no rights. They have no rights. I mean, you can kill a Native American person there now, and it's cool. And if they try to do anything, I mean, it's of course the opposite. It's insane.
Oh, well, I had not ever heard that information before about the cryptids guarding the sacred lands, and that's why they're there. They've been conjured. Yeah, because they had been they've been placed there to protect that land at all costs. Okay, at all costs. And so that could be a good thing or a bad thing. Okay, for people who are out there and encountered them. Okay, so it's basically like if you have a bad intention, they will hurt you. Okay, if you have a bad intention out there. And so I think that's why my team and we have been okay so far, because we have nothing but good intentions. Okay, when we're out there doing our cryptid research. But it would explain why they are there and seen in certain locations. Okay, it would. And it's a lot of dogman sightings are around the cemetery.
The dogmen are very connected to the Native American tribes, though.
Yes. Yeah, there is an indigenous connection for sure. I do have a friend who encountered a dogman with paint on its face that looked like it had smeared paint down its cheeks. Yeah.
Was it riding a horse?
No. It was camouflaged. It actually, he thought it was a deer at first, because it looked more like a coyote kind of. A lot of the dogman reports that we're getting they look like coyotes until they stand up, or I guess coyotes until they stand up on their hind legs and walk off on two legs. Much like that goat. I've seen that video too. That video of the goat.
Yeah, just walking around like it's a good. I mean, like, whoa, what the hell? I would run. I would think Lucy or Lucifer's come to visit if I saw that goat running around the pen. Seriously, on its hind legs. I mean, it's a huge goat. It's not even a little one.
It's creepy. That's a weird one. It's definitely weird, but
I've never seen that before, and I've never heard about that before either. Yeah. You know, when you see a fully grown male goat walking around on its back legs, and not just one or two steps, like a far away, like a human. It was walking like a human. That's how far.
Yeah. Yes. It's the stuff of nightmares. It is for a lot of people. I wouldn't want to see a goat on two legs either, but I mean, yeah. No, but yeah. It's but in South America, they do have these werewolves that are passed down. They say that if you get bitten by one of these werewolves, you will then become a werewolf too. Okay, so it's also that thing. They're not only inherited. There are two ways that you can become one of these werewolves, and it's by the inherited curses, or it's by being bitten by another one, kind of like a zombie. Yeah.
Yes, I think I remember seeing that in movies in many moons ago. And isn't it the same with a vampire as well? Do you deal with the vampires? Because I mean, and I don't know about this biting story there and the jugular, but I know from shows we've done with Jesse. Now Johnny Depp is apparently from the bloodline. And it's not so much necessarily that they bite them and suck their blood, but it's more like blood banks and stuff like that, you know, and getting these groupies and these, I don't know what they do with these girls. I don't even want to think, but yeah, it's more done in that way with their bands and stuff like that. I mean, that is like so obscenely gross.
Yeah, I remember the last time I went to Florida, down in the southern part of the U.S. down here, I was in Florida, and I could not believe the amount of blood banks and places where you can go donate blood. They were on every street corner. Blood plasma donation places and blood donation. I've never seen anything like it in my life. And so it made me wonder, I was like, am I vacationing amongst the vampires down here? It was odd. Okay. But I have not come across a vampire that I know of yet. I do have a friend who told me he's a vampire. Okay. But
how does he get blood? What does he do to get blood?
I don't know. I don't even know if he gets blood.
I'll never forget that. That for me, Ozzy Osbourne, many years ago, he is very well known for biting off a bat's head on stage.
Yeah.
I mean, that to me, that's only a vampire can do that. Actually, maybe not now that you think about it. I mean, there are so many of these creatures of the night who blood is their juice. Yeah, right.
Yes. Well, okay. So there is a cross connection with dogmen and vampires, actually, and I was actually warned by someone who is a local, one of these national parks, where there's a long history of dogman attacks. Okay, of people being unalived by dogmen and werewolves at this park, and I was told by a local who lives up there to try to stay away from that topic of vampires. Okay, because it's very real. There are cults, okay, of like vampire cults, people who are doing rituals and putting curses, and that may be part of why some of these cryptids, these creatures, are out there attacking people because they're being conjured. Okay, and once you start talking about it, they put their sights on you. Okay, and so I try to stay away from that topic a little bit when it comes to talking about some of these like national parks and some of the dogman attacks and stuff like that, because we don't hear a whole lot about attacks other than some of the main stories, like the Land Between the Lakes story, and the family that got mauled up there. But yeah, there's apparently there's vampire cults and stuff up here in the United States. They're probably all over the world, I'm sure.
Are these vampire cults normal people, or do they look like normal people?
I mean,
And what does a vampire cult do? Do they like ride around and at nighttime and I don't know? What do they do?
well, I don't know if you've seen that movie Twilight. Okay, apparently, and what, Underworld, all those movies, they've been showing us movies and putting it out there in the collective consciousness for some time, but they're like werewolf cults and they're vampire cults, and I've talked about this before plenty of times on my channel, where I keep bringing up the same guy, this Bill Schnoebelen guy. Okay, he was giving a lecture on the Prophecy Club, and he talked about how he's I don't know if he's a rabbi now. He's a preacher. I'm not sure what he does now, but at some point in his past, he was a high-level Freemason, and he was also in the Brotherhood of Satan. And he talks about how at some level, when you reach a certain level in the Brotherhood, you can either become a vampire or a werewolf. Okay, and he became a vampire. Okay, he became a vampire, and he talked about it on this thing. So if anybody's interested, y'all look that up. That's an interesting conversation at the Prophecy Club. Okay, you can find that online.
Have you got the link? Have you got the link for that interview? I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Because it's not the first time I've heard that.
Yeah. And so I like to bring that up because it really stuck with me. Okay, when it comes to werewolves and vampires, because it's just fascinating to me. Okay, fascinating. And yeah, you can look that up. He said he became a vampire because it's not so hard on your body, but it was very much like drug-filled, like orgies kind of stuff going on, and very sexual.
It's all the lower three chakras. You know, when you look at the energy centers in the body, it's people that are stuck in the root, the sacral, and the solar plexus, and that's you call that the lower triad. So it sucks you if you haven't worked through those lessons that those chakras offer, which is sex, money, power, greed, all of the lower rung energies that the average human being is stuck in right now. Then that's where they get you all the time, and that's why they can get you if they're trying to corrupt you. They will know exactly how to sort of obviously find out these things about you. So, the more dishonest you are and the cleverer you are about it, the more higher you're going to rank, right? So they want everything like that's out of integrity.
Well, I would assume, yeah, in secret societies, which that is what he was talking about, being in a secret society or several, and they want to know your deepest, darkest secrets, right? A lot of times when you get into these secret societies, they want to know everything about you, and they want you to do bad things.
And they find out. I've just read too many stories as well and just listened. It's amazing for me now to see the last 3 years when I started this podcast, and to see how many people have grown since then and woken up, right? Because, then, I mean, I know Aquarius Rising Africa was one of the first channels doing survivor stories, basically speaking to survivors from SRA and stuff like that. And now there are just so many people actually sharing these stories. It's horrific how common it is, actually. But yeah, all these creatures of the night and their secret societies, it's all one and the same thing, really. They're all, and it wouldn't surprise me what you're saying at all. And I have heard that because, in fact, Jesse spoke about the werewolves, the wolves, being the protectors of the system. So in other words, they're like the bodyguards of the high level, the high level people in the system. So they would be their bodyguards, and I mean, yes, and as you're right, assassinate. They're the assassins of the system as well.
Yeah, so that's what he said. He was talking about how the people would transform into werewolves and guard the ritual sites, where they would go to places like landfills and dump sites, places that smelled bad and had death and rotting stuff there, and they would do their satanic rituals out there. And at some point, he said that some little boys had ridden up on their bicycles, and only one of them got away alive. That's what he said. On there, because they had encroached upon the area. Yeah, a lot of really sad stories, but it's very dark. Okay, super dark. So I don't know. It does fascinate me though. I'm trying to figure all this stuff out, and I'd like to talk about it so that we can know what to look out for. Okay.
Yeah, I'm so with you on that, because I mean, I think it's just starting now. I think in the next few years, we're going to be, scary thought, but I have no doubt. And, I'm certainly not into fear mongering, but I think, as you say, how many human beings on this planet think that it's only Earth in this entire universe. You got to be freaking kidding me, right? So, I mean, have been living literally in this little insulated bubble, and have had some seriously rude awakenings, and I mean, if there's anything this time is waking us up.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I find it fascinating, fascinating.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Well, speaking of waking people up, if you wanted to touch on this Battle of Los Angeles before we go today, we can do that. I know it's in the title of the show, so we might as well touch on it a little bit today, because I think that this is something that it brought in the golden era of UFOs here in the United States. Okay, this is something called the Battle of Los Angeles. This was tasked to me as a blind remote viewing, a coordinate remote viewing target. And I did this target a little while back, and then I did a show on it at the request of one of my viewers this past week, because this happened back during World War II in the 1940s, and I haven't heard a whole lot about it in modern day. Okay, like modern day, like today, like in my time era. I wasn't born in the 1940s, but people assumed that there was a UFO that was being the U.S. military tried to shoot down, basically, over Los Angeles. This happened shortly after, like within the year of the Japanese bombing Pearl Harbor, and I don't know. I know people in America are pretty familiar with that, where Japan basically forced the United States into joining World War II against Japan, Italy, and Germany, because I think we lost like 2,400 lives that day when Japan came in and blew up a whole bunch of stuff in Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. Okay, so let me get into the story real quick, and then
I would also, but I have to say, any story like that comes from then, I would always question the motives.
Yes.
For that, because I would, Anyway, I'd love to hear more. Carry on.
Everything. Well, now we're looking at things like everything's scripted. Okay, like this was all
right. Yeah.
There's it was like it was planned or something. And this is interesting because in my data, I did pick up on something being staged. Okay, so let me get into the story so your viewers can get an idea of what we're talking about. Okay, so on February 25th, 1942, 2 days after a Japanese submarine surfaced and shot 16 shells at an oil field at Santa Barbara, California, okay, on our west coast. Radar stations picked up an unidentified object over Santa Monica Bay, which is near Los Angeles, at 2:25 a.m. The region's anti-aircraft batteries, the largest at Fort MacArthur, went into full action and blindly fired 1,500 rounds into the suddenly searchlighted skies. So there's a very famous picture of this. There's some pictures of all these searchlights pointing up to the sky, and they're all converged onto one object. And you can't tell what this object is because they're like crossing. It looks like a UFO. Okay, it does. It actually looks like a UFO. The Times, their local newspaper, wrote the next day, at 5 a.m., the police reported that an airplane had been shot down near 185th Street and Vermont Avenue. Details were not available. 5 persons died in the air raid, 3 in car crashes, and 2 from heart attacks. To this day, the real story behind all this remains unknown. The Japanese denied that any of their warplanes flew over Los Angeles that night, and U.S. wartime records are inconclusive, of course. Some residents claimed that they had seen an orb or a triangular craft in the sky, and the military here in the U.S. blamed it on jittery nerves. They said that they were just on edge, and some of their soldiers got nervous, and then they saw some things in the sky, so they just started shooting. Okay, but if you look at that picture, you can see these like searchlights are all converged onto one object. Okay, one object, and 1,500 rounds of artillery. That's a lot of stuff being shot at nothing. Okay, at nothing. They said, but people all over the city of Los Angeles claimed, okay, everybody had a different story. So some of the people there claimed that they had seen triangular craft. Some people said they saw blimps. Some people said they saw airplanes and bombers. Some people said they saw nothing. Some people said they saw birds in the sky. Okay, so it was really weird. Everybody was seeing different stuff. But okay. So you got to kind of think about all this a little bit, because this is a blind target, and I started picking up on very clearly. I was in the middle of what appeared to be a battle. Okay, a battle, and I heard fire in the hole when I got into this target. I was picking up on Marines or the Marine, like near the water, oceanside water. I was picking up on bombs. The military tried to say this was another weather balloon. Okay, so if you're familiar with like the Roswell UFO crash, that was blamed on weather balloons. We recently, about 2 years ago, I think it was 2 years ago or maybe more, we had a weather balloon shot down. It's supposed to be a weather balloon off the coast of South Carolina here. UFOs are often claimed to be weather balloons. Okay, and strange things up in the sky. So, but I was picking up on something that was staged. Okay, something that was staged, and I was picking up on an action movie, action-packed, something that was action-packed, and I also picked up on something called the War of the Worlds. Okay, now the War of the Worlds is actually, let's see if I've got it here. The War of the Worlds was actually I don't have my paper here. There was a book written in the 1800s called The War of the Worlds. Okay, and some people know this book from back in the 1960s, I believe. Orson Welles, I believe is his name, right. Was a famous radio broadcaster who read a chapter out of that book, and it was about the Martians invading the United States, or invading here. And so
I actually grew up with that book. Yes, it's a whole record. It's like a whole record of this invasion with Orson Welles' voice. Yeah, War of the Worlds, absolutely.
Well, that came over the radio. Okay, and people freaked out, and they thought that we were literally being invaded by Martians. And so some people, they unalived themselves and stuff. Like, it was that bad. It sent the United States into a panic. Okay, and to me, it's kind of suspicious now, because you start looking back, and that book was written during an era in the 1800s where there was like an era of alien invasion books were being written back in the 1800s, which I find very interesting. Okay, very interesting.
You kidding me? I have never even conceived that idea. So people, do you think they were having these types of alien sightings back then already then?
Oh, I mean,
To
if
be
you go
able
look at,
to,
yeah, if you go look in our history books, okay, it's not in our history books today, but if you go back and look at artwork, okay, and there are accounts. I'm saying in the United States, okay, but if you go look online, I mean, I'm gonna talk about the celestial phenomenon of 1561. Okay, there's another one that was in Nuremberg, Germany. We also had, where are the other ones here? The UFO battle of 1665. Okay, that was in Stralsund. Okay, there have been historical UFO battles. Okay, celestial sky battles in our skies going back for centuries. Okay, even some of the petroglyphs, the writings, the paintings on the cave walls here in the United States, all over the world, there are aliens and UFOs like depicted in some of those old pieces of art. Okay, and people only drew what they knew or what they saw, I would think. So this has been going on for a long time. So I was picking up on data that had to do with the War of the Worlds. I actually wrote that down. So that's, you can look at that in a whole bunch of different ways, because wow, that is about an alien invasion taking place. People assume that this was a UFO that they were attempting to shoot down. Now here's my most interesting data from this target. This is a blind target. I wrote down Nazi Germans. Okay, in a craft, Nazi German craft. Okay, and I wrote down enemy lines. I had some more data too. Okay, but that's interesting for this target though, right? Because the Japanese, the Germans, and the Italians, they were fighting. They had made a pact. Okay, and so at this point, they were enemies of the United States, basically. Okay, at this point, and we have the Germans allegedly having these, and I think there's some historical records of this, of having like the spacecrafts working potentially with extraterrestrials, bases in Antarctica. Okay, things like that. What is that called? The Die Glock or something like that. The Bell UFO. All sorts of interest. I mean, it's just a really cool, interesting connection here that I wrote down Nazi and Germans in this target. Okay, for whatever happened there at the Battle of Los Angeles. Okay, so I think that there's 100% with some sort of a connection there. And so I don't think it was extraterrestrial. Let's just put it that way. I don't think, and if it was extraterrestrial, it was the extraterrestrials working with the Germans, I think. Okay, according to the data.
I must say, I watched something on YouTube a number of years ago on the Germans and the alien channelings they receive, and literally coming from the dark side. And it was the Nazis especially, yeah. So it's very interesting.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I said the 1960s with that Orson Welles. That was the 1930s. I just found my paper with it.
Okay.
Yeah, the War of the Worlds was one of the earliest stories to detail a conflict between humankind and the extraterrestrial race. Okay, so Orson Welles repeated that. He read that in 1938. Okay, so 1930s, people were worried that we were being invaded by Martians. I said the 60s. That's 30 years earlier. But yeah, they said that it was a period of invasion literature, is what they called it, invasion literature. And they're not talking about any old invasion. They're talking about extraterrestrial invasion in the 1800s. Okay. Now, there was also this celestial phenomenon of 1561 in Nuremberg, Germany. Okay, I find that really interesting. You can find a whole lot of information about that online. It was actually printed in a paper. Every single person in the entire region saw this happen. They said that there were spheres, globes, triangular looking craft, all sorts of weird stuff going on, having a battle in the sky. Okay, a battle in the sky. And this was in broad daylight. It wasn't at night. I think it was in the early morning hours when the sun was coming up. So
they've probably been fighting the whole night long.
Yeah, maybe
Wow.
so. There were explosions and all sorts of stuff going on. So yeah, this stuff's been going on for a long time. We hear about the Star Wars. I mean, we have a movie series called Star Wars, right? We've got Space
Right.
Force here in the U.S. now. I don't know. I think it's been going on for centuries.
Yeah, that whole Star Wars thing is also the Dark's concoction. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
For sure.
That's
for
insane.
Sure. A little soft disclosure.
Yeah.
Just a little disclosure there. Yeah.
Small one. Wow. Jessica, how interesting. How absolutely interesting. And thank you so much for a really cool show tonight as well. I always enjoy our shows, but of course, I really enjoyed tonight as well.
We always have fun.
And then we do, for sure. Just wait until the next thing before they even know where I am. I'm plonking on a chair next to you and talking from your place as well. Just got to find that bloody portal. No, not a bloody portal, just my portal.
We just have portals. Yeah. Oh yeah, we have portals all over the place up here. So
I want my portal. I want my portal. Well, I'm not paying flipping air tickets anymore to these guys. I mean, they're rip-off. No, I'm going to find my portal. I'll find my way around to you.
Oh my gosh, what a great idea for a business. Open up a portaling business.
Exactly. Come portal with us.
Cheaper or more expensive? I don't know. Probably more expensive. Get instant access to wherever you want to go.
Exactly.
Portals are us.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anyway, yay, it's been fun and it's been swell, but now the swelling's gone down. So as always, it was wonderful. And we shall see you back in 2 weeks from now, where you'll be sharing with us more of your super interesting life. And listen, take care of yourself with the little dog children.
Well, maybe by the next time I come back, I will have already gone. So I don't know. Maybe we'll have something to talk about.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that. Take pictures. I want videos. I want to see things running and flying and dust flying.
Oh gosh. Yeah,
lovely.
It'll be fun.
No doubt about that. Okay, everybody. Always awesome to have you guys all in the chat. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. And I shall see you guys tomorrow. Jessie is back for a single show tomorrow. So we'll do one show at 3:30, 9:30 Jessie time. I think that's Eastern time. So I shall see you guys tomorrow for a nice show with Jess. Yeah, she's back. Okay, everybody, God bless you all. Take good care of yourselves. Oops, now I'm lost where now I've lost where I need to be again. You see, I do this all the time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.